Stop for a moment and think about the last time you felt completely uncertain about who you truly are as you age and face new challenges in life. In my research of Carl Jung's work, I have found that one of his most profound discoveries is the intricate relationship between the ego and the self, especially as we move into later stages of life. This topic is incredibly important because it touches on a universal psychological journey we are all destined to undergo and offers a map toward deeper meaning and wholeness. Jung observed that as people age, they often encounter what he called a process of individuation, where the ego's central role in identity begins to loosen, making room for the larger reality of the self to emerge. If you are feeling confused or even afraid about aging, I want you to know that Jung's insights not only validate those feelings, but also provide hope and direction. Think of the ego as the conscious I, the part of ourselves that navigates daily social roles and personal identity, while the self represents the totality of the psyche, encompassing both conscious and unconscious elements. In later life, Jung noted through careful clinical observations of his patients that the ego often confronts a crisis, a turning point where clinging too tightly to youthful identities or roles can lead to stagnation or despair. He described how individuals might experience this as feelings of emptiness or loss of purpose, which nowadays many might relate to as midlife or later life existential questions. What fascinated me in these cases was how Jung saw this ego confrontation not as a psychological breakdown, but as an opportunity for profound transformation. The ego begins to realize it is only a part of a much larger self, and this realization can trigger a movement inward toward integration, healing, and newfound wisdom. One key practice Jung advocated for this integration is active imagination, a method where the individual dialogues with unconscious contents via dreams, symbols, or creative expression, facilitating the bridge between ego consciousness and the greater self. For example, Jung worked with patients who've reported dreams featuring archetypal figures, wise old men, or nurturing mother images that symbolized this emerging self, guiding them toward acceptance and renewal. This stands in contrast to common psychological approaches that often emphasize reinforcing the ego at all costs. Jung's model recognizes that the ego must adapt, surrender, and cooperate with unconscious forces to achieve true psychological maturity. In modern life, we can witness this dynamic when elders transition from highly active roles to ones focused more on reflection, mentoring, or creative pursuits, indicating the ego stepping back to allow the self's full expression. To bring these ideas into practical steps, Jung suggested consciously embracing silence and solitude, paying deep attention to dreams and symbols, and cultivating curiosity about inner experiences rather than resisting change. I encourage you to try these approaches. Keep a dream journal, set aside moments daily to reflect on your inner state without judgment, and consider creative outlets that allow your unconscious to speak freely. Jung firmly believed that despite the challenges, each person has an innate potential for growth at every stage of life, and this late-life relationship between ego and self is pivotal in realizing that potential. In closing, the essential wisdom I want you to carry with you is that the journey toward true selfhood is lifelong, and that aging is not a decline but a profound unfolding of the psyche's deepest layers. When you engage with this process, pain and confusion transform into meaning and wholeness. Tomorrow, we will explore the deeply significant question of how you can prepare psychologically for life's final transition through Jung's eyes, which builds directly on understanding the ego-self relationship. Jung's insights on this topic are crucial because they remind us that facing death with awareness and integration is the ultimate step in individuation and psychological development. If you found this reflection meaningful, please like, comment with your own experiences or questions, and subscribe so you don't miss the next essential part of your Jungian journey. I promise that continuing this path will help you embrace each stage of life with greater peace and depth.